It's here. It's finally here. The brand spanking new DaveMossTuning.com. All of Dave's videos and articles in one convenient location. Click the link below and enjoy.
Now my personal pet peeve, chain tension. So what is really important is that you must have 1 inch to 1.5 inches of chain slack in your chain so that your suspension can go through its full stroke. So you need to know that. Consult your owner's manual. Now for this particular R6, we need about 1 inch to 1.25 inches as we have approximately 4.5 inches of travel in the shop. So if we set the chain tension too tight, then that's going to make sure that the rear shock doesn't go through its full travel, and all you have left at that point is the rear tire, because the chain will bind the swing arm. So nothing will happen. All you've got left is the tire, and that's not a good situation. Conversely, if you do it too loose, when you decelerate, there's an increased risk that the chain can jump off the rear sprocket, and that by itself can obviously cause all kinds of trouble. The key point is that the tension in the chain must be accurate with you sat on the bike. So, 1 inch to 1.5 inches off of chain slack, know how much suspension travel you have, get it right, and then tighten everything up. Fluids. You need to make sure that our fluids for both brake reservoirs are in between high and low, and that our engine oil is set at the correct level, whether that's through the inspection window or on this particular R6 by using a dipstick, it's between or up to the high mark on the dipstick itself. Let's start with our mirrors. Now you have many options. Some providers will let you keep them in place. Some will require you to remove them. Others will let you tape them up and fold them back out of the way. The reason why? You should be 100% focused on what is in front of you. It is the person behind you, their responsibility to take care of you. Your job is to look forward and be consistent in the way you ride. So mirrors, if it was me, take them off. Now on the 09 R6, we need a 10mm socket and a ratchet. There's a couple bolts each side, and then the mirror will come off, and we can go ahead and put that to one side. Then we can use a small zip tie to keep all the bodywork together where the mirror was holding it. Pretty much across the board these days, the headlights are made out of plastic, and certainly in California, you are not required to tape up the headlamps. However, certain track day organizations may still require that. Why? Years ago, most headlights were glass, so if you hit the ground, shards of glass will go anywhere. Manufacturing techniques have come a long way since then, so as everything is plastic, there's really no need to do that, and as I said, in California, we're not required to. We don't even disconnect the headlamps. It's somewhat redundant. Just like my hometown, they have a statute where you can't hang your washing out to dry on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because 70 years ago they used to backfire chimneys. Still a current statute, but it makes no sense. So, check with your provider what you need to do with your headlamp. Rear brake light. Most track day providers, if not all, want to make sure that you are not focused on a brake light and that you are responding to seeing a brake light. You should be riding your own ride and, of course, be cognizant of the rider in front of you. So there's 3 ways to deal with this particular requirement. 1, pull the appropriate fuse. On the 09 R6, it's located in fuse box number 2, which is in the engine bay area. You can physically disconnect the circuit, and in this case with the 09 R6, it is a little connector that's back in here between both seats and very awkward to get to. Then thirdly, there's the simplest and obviously the path of least stress, duct tape. So what we're going to do is completely cover the rear light so no brake light will be able to be seen at all while we're out on track. tire pressure. This is probably one of the two critical parts because it's really essential that you know exactly what the pressure is for the brand of tire you have and the compound of the tire you have, as well as reference that across to how hot is the track going to be during the day. This is normally the very first thing you do in the morning when you get to the track. Consult the organization. If there's a tire vendor there, consult them and set your pressure that is appropriate for the brand and compound of the tire you are going to ride that day. The other very important part of this is you must know that your gauge is accurate, so you have to calibrate your gauge and know that the tire pressure you are setting it at is 100% accurate. Now onto suspension settings. Why is knowing what you have important? Well, your bike may have multiple adjustability in terms of components and features, and it's really important that you understand what each one does and then how that can be used to optimize. So you need to really know your motorcycle, consult your owner's manual and see what adjustments you have. Now on our 09 R6, we have rebound, compression, and preload in each leg. And in the shock we have the same, so there's lots of adjustability. So it's really important that we understand where we are. Now in this particular bike, for the 09 R6, each leg must have identical settings installed. So let's see what we've got and I'll show you how we figure that out. So what we're going to work on first is the fork rebound adjuster. Flat blade screwdriver will work just fine for this. So now I'm going to count the number of clicks as I turn the screwdriver to the right until it naturally stops, and then I'm going to take it all the way back to where it was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Now when you check in the adjusters, there is a natural stopping point. When you feel that, quit. Do not force the adjuster past because you can actually break components and that will really ruin your day. Then I'll take the left fork rebound adjuster, take that all the way to the right hand side till it naturally stops. And no matter what position it was originally in, I will match it to the left leg by the same number of clicks. So next thing we're going to look at are the preload adjusters on the 09 R6. Now, these have machine grooves in them, so you want to make sure that the machine grooves give you a good guideline. Now we are on line number 2. One unique thing about this motorcycle is the more preload you add, the taller the preload adjuster gets. So the preload adjuster has a right hand thread, so don't be thrown by that. The next adjuster we want to take a look at is compression. Now on this particular model there are two. The blue 3mm Allen is low speed compression. The gold 12mm nut is high-speed compression. So to figure out where we are, this clicks. We're going to turn it in a clockwise direction to take it all the way stiff. Again, counting the number of clicks so we know where we are. Once we reset it back to that, we'll go to the other leg and do the same thing. Now onto the high-speed adjuster. That requires a 12mm wrench. We're going to use a combination wrench here. Very tight access to get to this, so it's really easy to count in quarter turn increments. There are no clicks, so that will tell you if you go clockwise how far you have gone, then put it right back to where it was. And now on the sheet I'm going to start filling in the data. We know on the suspension forks our preload is at line number 2. We know that our compression there are 2 adjusters. One is low speed, one is high. We know that the high speed adjuster is 2 turns out, and we know that the low speed adjuster is 15 clicks. Now this data sheet for either track day or race day is available at, so feel free to download the sheets, and the information are free. Now onto the rear shock. There are several things to look at. We're going to start with compression. It is exactly the same tools as we just did on the front forks for high and low speed compression. 3mm Allen, the low speed compression clicks again, and then a 12mm, and the high speed compression is just purely turns. In each instance we are going to the right until it naturally stops, record what that was, and then put it right back in the set. Now remember, on the rear shock compression, just on the front forks, it is blue and gold, but in this instance, instead of being at the bottom of the forks, it's now on the top of the shock, so it's reversed. So please remember that. Next is the preload adjuster on your shock. That can come in many ways, shapes and forms depending on what the manufacturer designed. It can be 2 lock rings, it can be a ramp adjuster, which is what we have on our 09 R6. It could also be a hydraulic preload adjuster with a separate adjuster that's at the end of hydraulic line. Know your bike. Consult your owner's manual, find out what it is and how you can adjust the preload adjuster and record the setting that you currently have. Now in our 2009 R6, we actually have a ramp adjuster. So we need to figure out where we are. The lowest point or the deepest groove on the adjuster is the softest preload setting. So if we count each basically section where the pin can reside, we are at position number 4. The rebound adjuster for the shock is located at its base. So what I'm going to do now is turn it all the way to the right till it naturally stops and count the number of clicks. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Now onto the shock. We know that our preload adjuster is in P position number 4. Again, we have high and low speed compression. Our high speed compression is 2 turns out. Our low speed compression is at 15 clicks. And our rebound is at 19 clicks. Thanks for your patience. All right, yourself?
Great.
Stock everything?
Yep.
All right, your body weight?
About is it 20 bucks?
For this initial setup,
Okay.
yeah.
145, 150.
Okay. And this is street and track?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, great. Yeah. Okay, these guys.
All right, jump on. 25. Full tuck as though you're going down the front straight. Stay right there. Okay, off you get. The back of the bike's too stiff for your body weight, obviously, but the front's not too bad. So we'll go ahead and soften it up a little bit. Okay. How many miles have you had on the bike with these settings?
How many what?
Miles have you ridden the bike?
1,350.
Okay, so not too much for you to forget because the bike you're going to get back is a new bike. This was beating you up something fierce. Chain slack is good. That's a little too fast on rebound.
All right, hey group, here on deck. This is your 5-minute call. Hey group, to the bridge, please.
Okay. 13, 14, 15, 16. These adjusters are a 16th of a turn is a click almost.
Okay.
Now this time of year, the shock is heated by the engine, but the front is ice cold with wind chill. So in the morning, you always open the damping to let the fork work,
Okay.
especially when it's older fork oil, because you need that bike to move together. Now as the day warms up and you get better, we may have to go in the opposite direction and then close it down a little bit. Okay. There's your initial setup.
Okay.
Differences you will notice is that the back of the bike is a lot more compliant and the balance of the bike is even. So as you go through the turn, the bike will stay level.
Okay.
What you had before was deflection off every bump with the back of the bike. Plus, because it was so stiff, it's trying to drive the front wheel into the ground, not along it. So it dives for a corner.
Okay.
Now it will go where you put it.
Okay.
So relearn your bike the next session.
Okay.
And then the session after that, effectively your third session, pick the pace up a little bit.
Okay.
You have street tires on.
Yep.
They take a long time to warm up.
Okay.
So ride appropriately.
In like 3 laps, you think? Or?
Every time you're on a straight, every time, gas, brakes,
Okay.
gas, brakes. After 2 laps, you can pick the gas up as you're leaning over, but that's called neutral throttle or
Yeah.
maintenance.
Yeah.
You can do that, but don't accelerate off the corner until about the 4th lap.
Okay.
Okay?
To schedule a remote tuning appointment for you and your bike with Dave via text, email, Facebook, etc., contact Dave on Facebook or by email, dave@davemosstuning.com.